Google choice boards have been around for a number of years, where you take a Google Doc or a Google Slides and you organize a number of links around a particular theme or a topic. And the idea is that it is a one-stop shop for the students to be able to quickly click on various links and explore various topics that have to do with either a book or the end of a unit, etc. This is one around becoming Mother Nature. Today we're going to explore this particular choice board around the ancient Greece culture. What if we could take this flat two-dimensional experience and convert it into this three-dimensional interactive experience where the students would move around, experience and interact with the same content, but in a more engaging, thematic, immersive environment? That's what today's video is going to be focusing on. Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Eric and I help educators focus on getting the most out of the new possibilities with the immersive spatial web. In today's episode, we're going to explore how to create an immersive choice board. Stick around to the end and I'll show you how you can actually get a version of this template that you can use in your classroom and you can modify it to fit your needs. All right, let's get into it. So as you can see here, I've already done some of the legwork to set this space up. It is around the ancient Greek choice board that I showed at the beginning. Let's take a peek at that. So we have check, explore, read, etc. There are various spaces here, and each one links out to a resource for the students to be able to click on and go and explore. One of my biggest pet peeves and driving forces around my project with the XR docs is to try and keep students from having to click and open up additional tabs, which is impossible to do here in a Google Doc. So as you can see here, when I click here, the student will be taken to another site, and now we have multiple tabs open, and we all know that it is challenging enough for adults to keep tabs open. It is even more challenging for the students, particularly the younger that they get. So that is one of the goals here. And the other goal is to try and give a sense of presence or give a sense of immersion with such a rich topic such as ancient Greece. So where do we get started? First, you have to decide on what type of environment you are going to be creating. Now, a choice board has 6 or 7 different places where you are going to store your information. Each of them here has a title: check, explore, read, vocab, etc. So what I chose to do first is I went into the environment builder that FrameVR gives away to utilize for free, and I started building an environment that would allow you to have a central space where the user is going to start, and then each time they walk through one of the portals or walk through one of the gates, they will be transported over to a corner or a section where only the material for that particular part of the section is going to be available. And the reason why I chose to put these walls up is that I wanted to give a sense of that you are going from point A to point B, or to a different room, if you will. And if you'll, in a moment, you'll see that when this is wrapped around a 360-degree image, it gives you different viewpoints of the setting that just gives it a different sense, and that you're not all just standing there in the same room or coming back to the same page to access your content. Once I finished this environment, I imported that here into Frame, and I'm going to turn on fly mode for a moment. If you haven't watched any of my other videos, fly mode is very, very practical for when you are building out an environment such as this. And in this case, it will allow us to zoom out and see what we have going on. So you can see that I have my different sections here where the walls are surrounded by an immersive 360-degree photo that I generated with AI around ancient Greece to give us a sense of going back in time. So if I turn off fly mode, I will automatically go back to where I started, and we'll talk just briefly about the setup that we have here so far, and then we'll build out some additional sections of this. This particular Greek gateway or archway I actually created in Canva. If I get close enough, it is not three-dimensional. It is actually an image that I imported into my FrameVR. I did try to get a 3D model of this, but I was unsuccessful and didn't want to spend hours and hours to try and create a 3D model. So I felt like this was an appropriate enough image to give you the sense that you are still in ancient Greece. Then each one, when I click on the edit button at the bottom and then I go to the action editor, the action editor allows you to apply certain triggers and actions based on what the user does. So if I click here, I have set it up. The trigger is proximity, which means the user, when the user gets close, you can see there are varieties here. When the user gets close, what is going to happen? The action is that I want them to go to someplace else in the environment. And this first one is for check, which is, if we go back to the Google Doc here, if I click on check, I should be going to read this article here on this website of the World History Encyclopedia. So I'll turn off edit mode and I'll walk through the check. And as soon as I get close enough, I have changed my spot. Now I have a different view here. If I zoom around, I can look up and see some of the buildings. I can't see the central spot because that was, again, my goal. And I have added the 2 options that you have for that particular article. Now, as I said in the outset, one of my goals for my XR Docs project is to try and keep students within the learning environment as often as possible. 2 ways to do that. One, you'll notice that if I click on this image over here on the left-hand side under the edit menu, I did add a link, and I added a web link, and I pasted in the web link for the ancient Greek government website. Initially, I always try and opt for the embed overlay down here on the lower left-hand side. But when I clicked on save, I got the unfortunate error saying that this site does not allow embedding. So your next best bet here is to choose new tab, which will mimic the experience within a Google Doc. However, if you'll notice, that same website here is on the left-hand side. And if I put my mouse here, I can actually interact with this. This is a web browser within the FrameVR environment. And if I click on zoom, then I can actually see and read the entire page much more easily, and I can go through that reading exercise. Unfortunately, within Frame, you only get one such web browser. So in this example, if we're going to use this here, then we're not going to be able to use it anywhere else in the environment. That's not the end of the world. So let's go back, and I will turn to the right. I've already set this archway, this 3D model of an archway. If I go to the action editor, parameter, when the user gets close, where do they go? We want them to go back to the entry. And so now if I turn off edit mode and walk through the return, I'm back where I started. Okay, so let's set up the next one together and let's explore what the read section is meant to include. If I click on read, first step is to go to action editor. Notice this one is blank, so I want to add a trigger. You could choose to add a click and the user would have to click on the read. But again, because of that immersive goal that we're looking for, I love the proximity trigger, which means that the student actually has to walk through or walk next to the item. What is the action? We want to go to, click add, and then it asks, where do you want to go? If you had a second frame environment, you can click there. Also, you can click to a web link. However, in this example, we want to go to spot link. I've already gone and made my spots, and read here is down here at the bottom. I'm going to click OK. So now when the user walks over here and gets to the read, we are in this very small room. Now, let me talk a little bit about why I had the entry point be so close to that wall. If I click on the edit mode, you'll notice that this is what is called the spawn spot that I named read, and that is what we used as our trigger and our action to come to this room. However, in order to get back, we are going to have to put the archway here at the door. And because of the proximity trigger, if the user is too close to the archway, they will actually enter the room and then could very quickly leave the room without actually reading the article. So a couple of different ways to solve that. Number one, you'd have to stay way over here on this room. This room is kind of small, so from a design standpoint, I probably should have made this room a little bit bigger. But since we're here, let's talk about how we can troubleshoot this. If I go to the creation menu and go to 3D model, since I've already uploaded the archway and it's in my inventory, I am going to click on inventory and notice I have named it, or it is named archway in marble. All I have to do is click plus to add it to the frame. If you've not watched my other videos, this is called the gizmo. This allows you to move the item in the X, Y, and Z axis. If I want to move it left and right, I would click on the red arrow. If I want to move it up and down, I click on the green arrow. And then if I want to move it further away or closer to me, I would click the blue arrow. Now, you can click on the item and drag it around, but you'll notice that it is quite difficult to place that way. I strongly encourage you to get familiar with and comfortable with using the gizmo. If you want to make this larger, you can click the handles at the top corner, top left, right, doesn't matter, and you can drag that along. And now we have this like that so that it is on the edge of the room, just like in the other environment, so that we can keep it consistent. However, if I click on Action Editor, click Add Trigger, Proximity, Close, and we want it to go back to the entry, notice that if I get out of edit mode, if I turn around, I am this close to the wall, that's fine. Whatever it is that we have to read, if I move back like this to try and read it better, see, now we've walked too close to the archway and we're back in the front. So that is the challenge here that we have. We have until about this far back before the student will have to not move back any further. So that's just a troubleshoot that you would have to deal with. I would probably, if I had more time, I would probably go and rebuild this room, but let's deal with what we have. This is read. We are supposed to go to this Ducksters page. So I'm going to copy the URL. I'm going to go back to here and I'm going to, instead of uploading a picture this time, I am going to click text label. The text label is actually in the wall. So this is, let me see if I can make this smaller and then click on the blue arrow to drag it towards me. There we go, so I can see it. Over on the left-hand side, whatever you want it to be called, I'm gonna give them a call to action. Click to read and scroll down to add a link. Click on web link, put in the web address. And as I said before, we always try to do overlay. Unfortunately, this one does not allow you to overlay. Since we already used the web browser, I'm gonna have to click on new tab. This will look and feel just like the experience in the choice board. When they click on that, they're going to go to a new tab and read about the ducks. A couple different ways you could get around that. If you had the opportunity to turn the Duckster page into a PDF, it does not look like it is very long, so you could actually just copy that information. Actually, let's do a quick screenshot here. This is not the whole thing, but this just gives you a sense of what your options are. We also could turn this way, go to Creation menu, insert an image, and go and grab that image that we had. Click on the Edit menu, rotate it so that it would be parallel with this wall. If I slide it back, I can see where it's going to start interacting with the wall. And because this article is so short, I think I would probably prefer to have the students read this right here on the wall in the room. If you have a page where the text is too small, over here on the left-hand side, I would click on Zoomable, and that will allow the students to be able to click on the article and click zoom and be able to read right there. So that's kind of some live troubleshooting. We've got two options. We can click and allow the students to go to a new tab to read it. However, anytime possible, try to keep them within this same environment so that they do not get lost, and it just makes the immersive experience a little bit more realistic. Let's finish this space off by adding some text. If you may or may not have noticed on the other door, I actually created 3-dimensional text. So if I go to the Edit menu, click on the title, over here on the left-hand side under the Edit menu, click Return, and now we just have to resize it. So we talked about the green, yellow, and red arrows for moving it. Now let's talk about the spheres here. This outward sphere would allow you to pivot at its center and move left or right. The red one would tilt it towards you or away from you. And the parallel sphere, which I believe is green, if I click on that and turn it, then I can change the orientation to the camera. So I'm just gonna use the gizmo to move this around and to give them the prompt to walk through the door to return like that. Click off the Edit menu, and now we are back to the start. All right, let's finish this up. We're gonna go and add the next section. I'm going to go and find my images that I created in Canva. I need to find the one that says study. There we go. Once the image comes into FrameVR, I'm going to go to the Edit menu, click on it. I like to know where it is in space because it's difficult to see. So you can see that's where it's intersecting with the floor. Pivot it so that it is at an, oops. If you need to undo, over here on the Edit menu in the top left-hand side, there is a nice convenient undo button. So now if I make this larger like this, similar size as the others, Great. And we need to make this, we need to add the trigger and the action as we've done before. Make it close, click add action, go to spot link, and this time we're going to go to study. And study and view actually are in the same location, and I'll show you why in a second. So now when I go through here, now I'm in the study, and this is that same problem that we had before, a small room, but it's not the end of the world because study and view actually allow us to leverage the embed feature that I had talked about earlier. So I'm going to click on text and add a text label like we did before. Click on the text label, change this to YouTube, scroll down to the bottom and click add link, web link, and I need to go and grab the YouTube. I think I did that, but let me just confirm, copy, come back over here and type in, actually no, this is good. This is not going to work, but I'm going to show you why. So initially it's going to say this site does not allow you to embed, but let's talk about how to do that here with YouTube. If you open the YouTube video, that particular video is no longer available. So I'm just going to pick any video. On any YouTube video that you want to bring into Frame, click on the share button and then click on embed. And this long list of text is where you can find what you need, but we don't need all of it. We only need this part that starts with HTTPS until the next quotation mark. So there I have everything from one quotation to the other. I'm going to do Command C, copy that. And if I go back to Frame this time and under embed overlay down there in the lower left-hand corner, if I paste in that new link, now you see that I don't get that error message. Let me make it a little bit smaller here. Perfect. Leave that there on the wall. Now when the user clicks on this, they will get a pop-up saying, do you want to open this link? And voila, this is what we're looking for. As many times as possible, I want the user to be able to be in the immersive environment and yet still able to and watch the content that they need to. Let's take that one step further and then we'll wrap this up. If you go to this Padlet, similar problem with Padlet. I need to actually open the Padlet if it still exists. Yes, it does. And up in the top right-hand corner, click on the share button, go to embed, and again, big, long set of text, but we're gonna zoom in here and look for the HTTPS. There it is. I simply need that code that has the word embed in it. Copy, come back here. I'm going to click on the YouTube and duplicate it. So if I go up here to the left-hand side, click duplicate asset. That way I don't have to make two of them. I'll just move this up real quick. This is not about how pretty it is. Padlet, go down to the bottom, change the link, save it as embedded overlay, click on save, and this would be the user experience. Do you want to open Padlet? Yes, I do. There I have the ability to interact with the Padlet. I can add content as I need to as the student, etc. So if you stuck around here to the end, thank you. I always forget to encourage people or remind you to please subscribe to the channel and like it and do all those other things. I just never remember to do those things. If you would like a copy of this choice activity within FrameVR, simply have to go to my website, www.xrtoolsfored.com, and subscribe, and I will send you a link for this particular finished choice board, as well as instructions for how you can convert it and duplicate it and make it into your own. You can change the environment, so if you want to make it a Roman activity or you want to make it around the giver or whatever book or content area that you want it to be focused on, you can do that, as well as you can change all the links to personalize it yourself. So if you have any questions or comments about how I did any of this, if you would like me to go over any parts or ideas that you have that you're not sure about, please leave them in the comments below and I'll be sure to connect with you and answer your questions or possibly even make another video. That's it for today's video. Thanks for watching and have a great day.